Hi, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining. Really appreciate you being here. We're gonna give people a second just to, join in and stuff. Just to make sure that people are here. We have some guests today, which is really exciting. And yeah, I'm gonna put the agenda in the chat as well, so you all can have that and kind of follow along. We have some new resources, so I just want to make sure that you all are aware of them. And they are all on the website except the ones that can't be on the website, like um any of the directory, the state directories. The reading materials are also not on the website because we're still trying to figure out how that's going to look like. But everything else should be on the website. So yeah, let's get started. Like last year and the first year in 2023, we are putting and publicizing your guys' events. And the way that we do that is we curate like special newsletters for any America Walks participants or readers that are in those areas. And so if they're in those areas, then they get a newsletter. So if you want to publicize your event, please fill out the form. It's in the agenda, and I'll also copy it on here on the chat. Really appreciate that. And we're coming up with a map just to kind of show. There's also a question on there. You can put if you don't want to publicize, you can also public, and that's totally fine too. It kind of just helps us keep a map of like where things are going on. Also, like every year, if you can please report your numbers at the end of week without driving. I know it's kind of a hassle, but I will be asking you for this once week without driving is done, for those of you who are keeping track of your own participants. And like always, you can keep track of your participants. At the end, we just if you could please give us the number, the final tally of the different categories of participants. That's what we ask for. And then we also have a couple of new templates. They're on the website as well, like the elected official letter, inviting them, a proclamation template. And also people have been asking me, and I'm assuming this is maybe because you guys are hosting events. And so you want like maybe a flyer to put up. And so all the flyer designs are on Canva. And so there's the template. So feel free to use it and edit it. Just make sure you copy it first on your end so that we don't delete anything. And then we also came up with two different social media toolkits. Anna actually worked on this and also got some feedback from some transit agencies. And so there's a transit agency toolkit and then also an elected official toolkit. And they are on the website. I'm also putting them on a Google Drive for some people because they're interested in that. And so once that's ready, I'll just share it with you all, but that's on there. So if you want to see the social media toolkits, they're on the website and on the Google Drive. Also, we had some really amazing help from Abigail Zoger, who's in California, to help us translate some materials. So first translated the talking points, or this is like how to talk to elected officials. And then we will also be translating the whole social media toolkit. So this is for like, social media posts that come in, etc. Like the really long one that will also be translated. So when I send you guys the updates in like a week or two, you should get that. So if you have any questions, let me know. And then some partner updates, just the Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day mini grant is due soon, and the League of American Bicyclists is also doing a kind of a sign-on letter, so you can support advocacy and bills that are coming up in order to support biking. So if your organization's interested in that, please check it out. So yeah, I think that's all for now. I know it's a bunch of new resources, but yeah, hopefully they are useful to you. Um, and I'm gonna present Sarah now. Sarah has been helping us to think about the ways that we tell Week Without Driving stories and the way that we capture that data, the way that we capture the experiences and stories that people are having. As you have seen, if you've participated before and organized, a lot of Week Without Driving happens online. And a lot of it is like sharing what people are experiencing, right? Because it's something that like you reflect on. And that's the point that we really want to press upon. And so this, we wanted to think about the ways that we're capturing those stories and the way that we're engaging people, because I think that we really want to make sure that the voices of the people experiencing this are heard by especially decision makers, and that decision makers themselves feel comfortable sharing their own stories, and like they can do this. And so that is a big reason why. And Sarah has been really helpful along with her coworker Lalani to help us figure out what this looks like. And so I'm going to turn it over to Sarah to introduce herself and then start her presentation on this. So take it away, Sarah.
Where am I? Okay? I'm not on mute. Great. It's nice to see this many people on this Zoom, and huge thanks to Ruth and Anna and the Week Without Driving planning team. They are working their little batooties off to try and get this set up, and it has been a whirlwind just trying to catch up to the speed that they're at. And seeing all of you committed to something like this is inspiring. I really do appreciate the time that everybody is taking to kind of make this a priority. There's a lot going on in the world right now. So to make sure that this is still a part of the conversation is really important. And I just want to say personally, thank you for spending the time and dedicating hours to preparing for this kind of event. And without further ado, what I'm going to talk about today is really kind of hopefully just an interactive discussion on how to encourage people to become a voice in this narrative, but also new participants joining, people feeling comfortable talking about this topic with other people in addition to on social media, or just allowing kind of people to put this in the conversation, or empowering people to put this in the conversation no matter what level they're at. And with all of you on the call, considering you team leads. So pointing out first, the whole mission of this is it's an experience to learn firsthand. And I bolded learn because one of the bigger things that we talked about in a lot of the meetings that I've been a part of with the planning team is that this is not a pass-fail experience. That kind of Week Without Driving label kind of thinks people don't think they can register without fully committing to something. But the process, the learning experience is the journey. It's not a pass-fail. And using that kind of language as you're talking to people is the goal. Your goal is to observe, if you fail, what happens during that point. And that's the stories you want to tell. You want to tell the successes and the potential failures, or I had to drive today because I didn't have access to things, or I didn't have enough time. So it's not a pass fail. It's a storytelling. It's an observation, and it's a learning experience on what it means to be a non-driver. Now, for 2025, some of the goals that we were talking about is just, number one, get more people to participate. There are a bunch of people outside of political officials that are willing to participate if you just tap them. And I liken this to a neighbor to neighbor connection. It's a an arm's length away invitation, less of a I'm going to post it somewhere to get people to try this. And we want to encourage those participants to be talking about it as they're participating in it, whether that's online or offline, at the water cooler, at the dinner conversation, at the dinner table. Just let that be a goal to have conversations about it throughout the week. And then on the other side is just to collect information from the broader mass of participants, because the conversation will only grow once you start collecting this kind of data for both your specific area, but also nationally. Now you all as team leads, I'm going to refer to you as like the coach. I want you to have like a coach mentality for these people in your area if you choose to accept this mission. So really it's just encourage and connect with participants to document their experience and make it a conversation topic throughout the week and beyond. So again, it's not a pass fail. This is a learning experience, and the team lead, their goal is number one, recruit. So just recruiting means just invite your network to join the experience. And another choice point I want you to understand when you're talking to other people, they can register for the whole week or they can just try a day. Like they do not have to commit to the whole week if that's a big deal, but if committing to one day, maybe this year, maybe next year, they go the whole week. So again, it's not a pass fail. It's a try it whatever way possible. If it's a week, if it's a day, if it's just going to an event, if it's just choosing to go to an event and using some other transportation versus you driving a car, that's also participating in this week. It's just however you can get people to try it and have their own story, their own experience with it so they can talk about it directly. I would encourage you to have people join you on journeys, whether that's attending an event, just something like I'm going here. If anybody wants to join me, I'm starting here and we're going to transport this way. If you can't do it, find other influencers that are willing to take roles like that on in your area. Just allow somebody to be a lead saying, join me. And I think more people might join, even if they don't fully register for the event, they might join them just to get the experience under their belt. And that's the goal. How do we get more people talking about this at the end of the day? Preparation for this. I mean, Ruth has a bunch of resources for you on this, and I know a lot of you are veterans in this. You already have your cadence. So for me, I'm just going to kind of go over this quickly, but providing resources for participants, like what are the transportation options in your city? Do you have a city guide? Can you point to links or anything that allow people to plan their journeys? Social media ideas. I know there's that whole social media kit. Are there other resources we're not mentioning? Just prepare yourself before the week starts with a resource kit to send to your participants. Data collection. There is a Week Without Driving survey that the national team really wants people to engage in. That's a priority this year, having people complete the survey. There's a pre-event survey and there's a post-event survey portion of this. You will get access to this information in your area, so this is beneficial to you as well, but that's a huge goal for national, is to get people to answer that survey. And then if you want to, like there's an option to create like a Google shared folder for people to submit if people are too shy to post on social media, but they do take pictures, they do take notes, they do have, a Google document or something that they've taken their experiences on, and they're willing to share it with you. Just make available a resource to give information to you so that you can have that for your area. Whether you're able to sift through that or not, just having people give their story somewhere helps them kind of validate that this is worth it to them. This is something that is good. It just helps it make it a little bit more professional, and you looking through all that information is probably going to benefit you next year or national next year on how to gear, where to take campaigns or ideas in the future. Hashtag Week Without Driving is another prompt, making sure people use that hashtag. That's the only way we're able to like grab that and kind of categorize who's talking about it online. So really driving home the use the hashtag. And then during the actual week, maybe having a daily email or having a cadence of reminders, and you can pre-draft those emails. Maybe that's reminding them of resources or pointing out somebody who's doing a great job posting online. And just having that all pre-drafted will help you during the week get things settled. Participant support. I'm sure a lot of you have this cadence, like I just mentioned, emails, Zoom meetings, Google shared folders. Encourage participants to do that survey, pre-plan their transportation, prepare for how they will document their week, and provide your tools. Connect. One of the biggest things in order to connect with the bigger team is leading by example, like you doing the work too, or having other influencers on your team that you can point to that are doing the work. Scheduling your reminders, sharing encouraging quotes, or giving advice on how to document things, or highlighting a team member's doing great, or planning a meetup in person. Maybe that's pre-event, maybe that's during event or post-event, but just an in-person meeting seems to get people inspired to want to be that, influencer in the area to help encourage others to participate in this. Okay, now I'm just going to dig into how do you prepare people to tell stories who are not used to this kind of thing? Again, not a pass-fail learning experience. What to collect. Giving people prompts on what kind of informations to collect is probably a reminder email or an encouraging email. Something like, documenting what was tricky, what worked better than you thought, what made you wonder, why isn't this easier, or any genius hacks, new routes, or tips you uncovered, what was the most surprising thing you learned, how do you feel to move through your community in new ways, what would you say are the biggest challenges for non-drivers in your community. And with a list like that, if you're preparing people to like kind of do almost a journaling experiment throughout the week, tell them to pick one or two and focus on those. This is a long list. Doing all of them is too much. So focusing on one and maybe having like a miscellaneous category for other things is a more approachable thing. You give people too much, they won't do it. So narrow it down to like, pick one of these and have a miscellaneous category of like observations. Another thing to keep in mind, what's the ease of things? What's the cost of things? How much time do people take? Do you feel safe? Is there maintenance needed? Infrastructure needs? Ideas? How do you be a part of the solution? Ideas on how you can encourage others to participate in the solution, and wins during the week. So we don't want it to all be negative. We want some positivity to come into play so that people will think about doing this, moving forward as well. But at the end of the day, these are all suggestions. Make sure if you suggest it, pick only a couple and focus on those with the miscellaneous category. How to collect. Now, if you're going to go into a digital experience, I know on the iPhone and Android phone, there are, note-taking apps. Also, creating albums, photo albums within your photo folder is something that you can prompt participants to do ahead of time. Set yourself up for success. Get a note going in your Notes app for a week without driving, and start it with the day one and what the observations are. Same with a photo, a photo album. Don't know why I couldn't think of that word. Get people in the process of like, I now have a system. I now have a process. I know where to put things. People are more likely to take those notes and journal those things if they have a system and it's easy. There's 2 prompts. That's the way to get people to translate into that kind of thing. I mean, and it might not be notes. Some people might do voice notes. Some people might just go directly to social media, but remind them to do the hashtag. But giving people options to prepare for how they're going to document the week is the goal. This is the digital word. There's the tangible version too. You can take notes in a journal. You don't have to be on your phone. You can log routes on like Strava, or not any of these like pathfinding apps. Whatever you decide to log your information on, just have it set up before the week starts. And then save your schedules, your maps, or your ticket stubs. That might be a part of your journaling as well. Now, that was a lot of me chatting about suggestions. I feel like with this group, there's a lot of different areas that are on this call. I kind of just wanted to open it up to the group to have more of a conversation of what will work in your area. Do people post online? Do people journal? When you're talking to your areas, is there a communication where there's participation between you all? I'm gonna take some notes I'm sorry, I'm gonna take some notes from this conversation. So does anybody have any ideas or suggestions or anything about what I just spoke about?
This is Sharon, and I'm in Nebraska, and I myself am a commuter, so I've got a 30-minute commute, and so I like the idea of being able to do one day and commit for one day, and then find someone that I can ride share with. Are there other states or people from other states that have large geographical expanses that have done this that can offer any suggestions as to what we can focus on?
I wanted to just jump in, Sharon, because I think some people that were talking in certain areas when we did the rural webinar, which is on our YouTube, they talked a little bit about like hosting like one event to get people to, which was like a more helpful, and then kind of going together. The other one that they talked a little bit about this was in the Sierra Club webinar that we did, where they talked about going outdoors and kind of hosting something that, you know, like riding a bus together type of thing, so that people who don't know how to ride a bus could kind of learn and see what that experience is like, because sometimes that in and of itself is like the challenge for people for the first time. Just wanted to share.
Sam?
Yeah, I would mention I'm work statewide in Pennsylvania, but I live in the center of the state, so it's similarly very car dependent. And I would say one of the things we have been trying to emphasize is, you know, when you said I'm in Nebraska and I have a 30-minute commute, what you meant was I have a 30-minute driving commute, right? And we don't even say that because it doesn't occur to us because there's no other way to do it. So what's useful is actually to do that exercise. Go into Google Maps and put your commute in and have it give you the result, the map for driving, and then go into Google and toggle it to bike, walk, or transit, and have it show you either there is no route or it would take you, like during Week Without Driving last year, I did work to take the one bus a day to the city that I work in. I work mostly remote, but I did have to go that week. And I had to stay overnight in order to do it, right? I couldn't go there and back in one day. You know, but that was part of the exercise. And that actually gives you a set of graphics, right? You can put either the driving and the transit graphic next to each other, or all four: walk, bike, transit, and drive. And you know, it can be very informative. This year I have a 3-hour drive that I'm going to get a ride on, but if I took transit, it would take 27 hours and take me into another state.
I mean, and that's an observation, right? That's something to document. That's something, it's not a fail. That's an observation, and that's a talking point, and it's all about the conversation. If the political officials are not going to join in, at least you're now empowering the citizens to have a relatable or a firsthand experience to talk about what that is. Hexel?
Yeah, and on this topic of, you know, helping people find, especially for our people who are participating from the suburbs, when it came to, we had a planning session where we were brainstorming ideas for alternate goals to, like, okay, for a lot of people, 100% no driving is not feasible, or it's, you know, prohibitive. And so some of the ideas that was shared was, yeah, so some was like on specific days, but some were like, okay, I won't drive downtown. Like maybe like they live in a suburb that doesn't have public transit, things are not very walkable, but like they go to work, their daily commute is into and out of downtown. So some of them was some of the alternate, benchmarks was not driving downtown, right? Or not driving alone, right? And so there were some where there were some alternate goals that were rather than being all or nothing for based around time, it's targeting specific trip cases, or like if it's within 3 miles, then you don't drive if it's within 3 miles, or if it is walkable or bikeable, then don't do those particular trips. So those were some examples of alternate goals that people came up with.
Love that. Colin?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we're in a mostly rural area, and one of the things that we really try to use this as an opportunity to educate decision makers and also a lot of the public that we do have non-drivers, even though it's really hard to get around without a car. And so trying to just elevate the voices of non-drivers to a certain extent. So one of the things that we do is coordinate with people who are regular bus commuters to have a decision maker ride along on their normal commute to work or to the grocery store or something, so that it kind of gives that person a direct voice a little bit more, and shows the decision maker what's going on. And another thing that we're trying this year, which would be new, is we're working with one of our local media outlets to have like a guest article every day during the week without driving published on reflections from participants. So it'll be a different participant each day. And what we're trying to do is, kind of magnify, since there's a limited number of people who actually will sign up to participate, hopefully we can get other people who aren't officially participating to kind of reflect by reading other people's experiences.
That's so cool. That's awesome. And Colin, where are you?
Humboldt County, California.
Humboldt County, California. Now, everybody having all these different ideas on how they're going to encourage their community to show up, either lead other people who have never done it before, get stories out there. Just do your best to collect it. Do your best to give people access to a shared folder, or however you want to aggregate information, so that you have, this combined effort of your community to tell the full story. Gerald?
Yeah, hi. Just back to the rural and the long commute issue. I'm in New Hampshire, and so there's very little public transportation. But I think one of the benefits someone might get out of this is, could they live, if your commute is a half hour, could you live in this spot if, God forbid, something happened where you couldn't drive? So it teaches, it creates that whole housing issue. Like, could you, if you couldn't drive, is there a place to live closer to where you work? If there isn't, well, that just raises a whole nother issue. So
Yep.
that's all.
I mean, even just giving the thought, it's about the conversation. It's about talking about what this means. It's about not a pass fail. It's about learning and understanding your area and how to talk about it. Nikki?
Hi, yes. So I'm based in Rhode Island, and I work for RIPTA, the transit agency here. We're a statewide operator. So we have service that goes to both urban, suburban, and as well as rural. So we have a big mix of services here. So, and I really like, just before I continue, I really like the list of what to collect questions. I'm brainstorming right now. I see that as a very nice way to maybe focus some content, use it as a list of interview questions to maybe even pose to someone who's and feature someone who's currently doing this using the going on transit or any other method that they use during the week without driving. So I really appreciate this list of questions. But yes, thinking about it in a more kind of statewide level, because we have so many different services that kind of touch upon the goals of Week Without Driving. One of the, it's good to for us we're brainstorming right now how best to use Week Without Driving, how best to use it to promote all not just what Week Without Driving's posed for, but also promote our services as well. So one such service I can think of is our paratransit Ride Anywhere program, where normally our paratransit sticks within the ADA requirements. So that's how the standard service is going. But here in this state, they actually passed legislation to actually expand it. So now it expands it past that. So now anyone can book ride our RIPTA Ride paratransit service past that 3/4 of a mile. So it's a Ride Anywhere pilot. So so that is just as a one kind of highlight that we can. I was thinking of planning of highlighting during the week, but we have other ideas too. So we're just wondering if it's good to take like a multifaceted approach for this week, or is it best to just like if we have all these different services, find one service that we would really want to focus in and focus our kind of attention on. I guess that's my question.
When it comes to attention spans of the broader audience, the fewer the better. Focus on a few things, people will actually take it. But like I mentioned before, getting other people, and I'm referring to them as influencers, to kind of take ownership of leading others in this area will expand that conversation. Think of choosing a few things as your kind of headliner, and they will look at other acts that they didn't know about because they're there and they have somebody guiding them, or they have, an interest in learning more. So I would always opt for fewer is better, but your area has different concerns and different needs. So the choice is up to you, but you are the people that are, the actual, the real influencers in the area to get people to kind of talk about this and do this. Kai?
Yeah, hi, my name is Kai. I'm in Washington, D.C. I just wanted to say I really appreciate the prompts. Those are helpful, especially as I'm in the outreach phase after, already have a few commitments. So it's helpful to be able to prompt people who've committed. Something that I'm kind of struggling with here, and this might be unique to DC, but if you've seen the news, the federal government has, deployed National Guard on our streets. I've seen them in our neighborhoods. There are like unmasked agents taking people from the street. And so all of our public officials on the local level are kind of focused on defending our autonomy. So it's been actually a little more difficult than usual to try to talk about transportation with them when there's this full-on kind of assault from the federal government. And so one thing that I've been trying to do is kind of adjust our messaging to counter the narrative that the president has been pushing about DC. As his words are, he called it a shithole. The mayor is, encouraging residents to publicly talk about, how they live here, how we live here, and how there are like actually great things in the city that Trump is completely erasing. So I've been trying to adjust our messaging a bit to highlight the things that make DC so attractive to so many people, whether it's the bus lanes that we already have, the fact that so many people don't need to rely on driving, even though it can be better. I'm kind of shifting the messaging a bit to try to get electeds on board.
I mean, you're unique. Again, every area is different, but it's obvious your concerns. We've all been hearing about it. I mean, good luck to you, good luck to you, and also good job. Way to stay in there. But if you understand what it's like to live in today, you understand the anxieties that people are living through. They want something to do. They want to be told what to do. And if your mayor is saying, talk about what it feels like to live in DC, say, hey, we're following the mayor's charge to talk about what it's like to live in DC. It's not all about the negatives. It can be about the wins, but you're right to follow that narrative and really give people a place in this very specific moment to have a voice, to have an action plan, to do something. Everybody's kind of just waddling on social media behind the scenes. If you give people a reason to act, they will do it right now. If it's something as easy as this, not that it's easy, but there is preparation in this, and this is a positive outcome. I mean, I'm saying that as a certain view on this, but this is something that should and could be a positive message for people to take on as how they share a story that needs to be out in the public right now. I'm going to go to, where am I? Miriam.
Hi, I'm from New York City, and I think we're next. Trump hates us, and we've already had our police commissioner say that our crime is down. We don't need you. We don't need you. I'm here really to hear other people's stories. I never drove. I don't know how to drive. My husband didn't know how to drive. We bragged about that because we were very proud that we got around through public transportation. But I hear everybody's story about being out in more rural areas. And I think, and we were all, by the way, always advocates, and my husband was one of the founders of Auto Free New York, which means what it says. We were trying, and we were the crazies, those fanatics, they hate cars and so on. And yes, we were the crazies, we were the fanatics, but we were right. And we were very sure of ourselves that this was the right thing to do. And as most of you probably know, New York is the first city in the country that has congestion pricing. So that's a whole new wrinkle on what's going on now in New York. And a lot of drivers are backing out of driving because of the tolls, which was the whole point of congestion pricing. And there's a lot of publicity about how there's less traffic, less pollution, safety is better, and all the wonderful things that we're getting through having less cars. But the bottom line is needing alternatives for people. And I heard somebody mention about the paratransit being expanded. And I remember my mother-in-law out in the suburbs of Seattle who had glaucoma and could no longer drive safely, getting picked up by a van to get into downtown Seattle, getting into the nearby shopping mall and so on. And the alternatives are, I think, also what has to be pushed. I think of how my husband and I traveled in Europe and how much light rail there was there, and how many trains and buses that we had to use. We had no other way of getting around, and that just became our life, figuring out how we would get around by public transportation. And I think this is the big change that is going to slowly come through the country. What are the alternatives? What can we do to make transportation doable for people without cars? And I am very interested in everything that's happening in DC, and I'm following that very closely because I think we're next in line. And I'm glad to hear everybody's stories. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. So it sounds like if the team leads were to organize like a pre-meeting with anybody in the area and talk about alternatives, do a similar exercise as this, what are alternatives, and give them prompts such as, what if the goal is if you're within 3 miles? All those suggestions that were brought up in this meeting might be here's some examples of alternative solutions, and just let your area come up with those kind of prompts for your area specifically. That might be a good use of time. That might be a good use of those individuals becoming the influencers we're looking for, and so on and so forth. Rebecca?
Hi, everybody. I'm Rebecca Downing, and I'm in Santa Cruz County. Just a couple of things. I'm chair of Santa Cruz Metro Transit District this year, so I use that as a way to encourage elected officials, both our city and our county officials, to participate. But I gave them a few ideas and options because I knew that each one of them would have a different availability or capacity to do that. So in one example, I encourage them all to collaborate with their county representative or state representative so that they could do maybe one event and have several of them show up to just do it together. So for example, in Watsonville, there's going to be a bus ride. The county supervisor that oversees that area in Watsonville and their mayor are going to ride the bus during Week Without Driving, just around Watsonville community. And I'm going to invite Metro board directors who live in that area and represent that area to join them. So that's just one example of something. Because we're doing it for the first year, we decided that we would have one county event that we would work on. So that's one thing that you can do, is just create one Week Without Driving event. We're very fortunate because we have a mall that's sort of midway in our county between the north and south, and we have a Metro Transit Center there. So we're going to host the event there. And we're inviting elected officials and appointed officials to attend. And I just managed to get the Regional Transportation Commission for Santa Cruz County to create a contest where people can log their trips and win prizes. So that's just being designed now. And we're trying to show up where we can and promote it, lots of social media, but it's our first year and there's only 4 of us working on this. So we're trying to keep it manageable so that it will be successful, and then we can build on that next year.
Only your first year? That's awesome. You got a lot going on. Good job.
Well, the first year I signed up, I had to drive every day. So, you know, that's another thing is more than half our population lives outside the city limits of the 4 cities in our county. We have no money to fix our roads, and our roads are horrible. So what we're trying to do, in addition to encouraging people to take transit, is that if they have to drive, which pretty much everybody does, not to just notice how bad the potholes are. We actually have an app for reporting those, but to show compassion for people that they come across who aren't driving that week. So if you've got somebody you see alongside of the road trying to ride their bike where there's no bike lane, someone, you know, trying to cross the street in their wheelchair, or if they're blind, to just sort of see them and honor what their journey is. And that, I think, is one of the things that you can do, even if you have lots of resources to do walk audits and make changes.
Right. So you went from participating last year to now leading the charge and getting your area mobile. Like, that's the kind of participation you want to encourage. Like, this is really where it's at. It's not about all the political officials. They got a lot of things to do this year. It's about individuals stepping up and taking ownership of their own area, and either finding within them to organize a bigger mission. Maybe that's next year, or maybe that's a group, you know, a week outside of this week, or that's just somebody being able to talk about it consistently at the dinner table with somebody who doesn't have an opinion, or has an opinion that's so far on the other side of this. You're developing advocates. That's what you're doing with this week. Brittany?
Hey everyone, I'm so excited to be a part of this. I am representing the Elizabeth River Trail Foundation here in Norfolk, Virginia, but I'm from Queens, New York, and so I don't drive, and I've never driven, and I moved to this area because it is fairly easy to use public transportation to get around. and I live in a really walkable area, but we do have the Hampton Roads Transit, HRT, and I'm just really looking forward to showing people how easy it is to get around Norfolk without a car. And my goals are to reach out. We have the largest naval base in the country here in Norfolk, and I'm wanting to see how I can get less active duty members, like get them out of their cars and onto a bus, because the traffic out here is crazy and the pollution is crazy. So yeah, I just wanted to chime in because I'm so excited about this. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, I mean, excitement is infectious. Fear might be infectious, but excitement is just as infectious. So use that to your advantage. That's awesome. Thank you. Patricia?
Hi, from Texas, and here we love our cars and love being in our cars, and everything's 100 miles away from each other. We totally measure distance and time here. You know, it's 20 minutes away. Don't try to do that in California. 20 miles in California is 2 hours. 20 miles here is 15 minutes. One of the things that I did learn when I did study abroad, I did not know how to read a bus schedule or a subway schedule, or how to navigate transfers. If we were gonna, go to Charing Cross and then take, this line to this line, and it took us a while for the Texas kids to learn how to navigate the subways. And so while we were talking here, I live about, I would say 10 miles from, maybe 12 miles from where I work. And during COVID, our main highway was closed. And so I had to take the surface roads, and it would take about 20 minutes. Once COVID let up, I'm a municipal engineer, so I came to work every day, even through COVID. Once COVID let up and normal traffic, well, not let up, but once the lockdowns were finally let out and normal traffic was allowed to move freely, then that commute took 45 minutes. Now that our highways are open again, it takes me about 12 to 18 minutes to get to and from my house. So I pulled up our bus routes and our bus maps to see what would be available to me. And I live within 1.5 miles of the central station. For the area that we live in is called the Valley. For the Valley, it's a metropolitan area of about 12, 13 cities, 3 counties, 12, 13 major cities. And so the major hub is in the city that I live in, and then our university is in the city that I work in. And so we have direct routes. So I could figure out from our bus schedule how to leave Central Station, but I couldn't figure out from the bus route how long it would take, from the bus maps, route maps, to how long it would take me to get to the university, which is about 3 blocks away from where I currently work. So that is a big hindrance. I'm a traffic engineer. I have almost 30 years experience, 25 years experience in traffic engineering, transportation. I've worked in big cities such as San Antonio. So I'm not ignorant when it comes to transportation. I still couldn't figure out the bus route. And I lived in London for a while while going to school. So educating the general public on how to read a bus map and how to be able to gauge our timelines, so that we could use our public transportation. We, like I said, we have a major university. Well, it's not a major university, but we have a big university in the Valley. And we just we'll be having our first football game this year, which is kind of cool. But a lot of us don't, well, I would say the majority of us would not know how to read a bus map. So I think that's very important, because I keep getting told when I would work with the Metro, McAllen Metro, which is the city I used to work for, I would say, you need better routes, you need more routes. And he'd say, well, we can't put in routes if we don't have riders. Well, if the riders don't know how to read your maps, we are not going to be able to to ride, to be able to ride. Spent a summer in Boston, and it was amazing to never have to get into a car. We went everywhere. My mom figured out the subway system, who'd never, done public transit before, and she was able to get us around the subway system. I kept getting lost, and I'm a traffic engineer. It's kind of ironic, but and she loved it. I would go to the conferences or the classes that I had to go to, and she was just all about Boston. And she's like, "Hey, we need to go eat here. You need to go there." And she did it all by the subway, and it would just be so convenient for us down here, because it's a small area, but we are extremely overpopulated. We're right on the border, so we have a lot of immigrant population that has moved into the area, and we have not had the opportunity to grow to accommodate all the extra, population. It's great. I mean, the more the merrier. We just aren't able to handle it with our current transportation system. But again, to be able to communicate to the Spanish-speaking immigrant population and the people who have, I've had a car since I was 15 years old, and thought that I would, die with my keys in my hand. It's just learning how to read these maps. I think that is a big thing to really start pushing out there.
Yeah. I mean, participation isn't, some people can't participate right away. Just learning what it is might be 2025's goal. Like, you're absolutely right. Some of these areas, even rural, just conversations about, alternative solutions, or how do you get, an event is the best way to get people to try something like this, because it's a game. You can say you don't have to find parking, you don't have to do all this. You can add the benefits onto it if it's a football game or something. But gamifying how to learn it might be a solution for a Texas market. I also saw somebody post in the chat something about an advent calendar that's happening in Dallas that might be worth looking into. There's a link there. A lot of ideas are coming through here. I think, Ruth, if you're okay with it, maybe creating a national Google folder of ideas and where you're at might be a nice collection tank for people to just put what they're doing and how they're navigating different things. Would that be possible, Ruth?
Yes, and we actually do have one.
fantastic.
And so I'm going to add it to that list, because we did somewhat of a similar activity very early on, for those who remember. But this was way before that people had actually started doing it. So now that people are doing it, these are very concrete, and so I think they will complement these resources really well. So I will make sure to send that to everybody, but I'll put the link in the chat.
Well, I'm just so excited. You guys have a lot of good ideas, and it's nice to hear where the issues are. I think the issues only bubble up some of the ideas and opportunities. So I appreciate you sharing. Courtney, you're next.
Yeah, hi folks. I'm here representing Smart Growth America. We're located in DC, but we're a national organization, work on transportation and land use issues. And so I'm going to just send in the chat really quick. We had created a social media video last year. And this year our plan is to do something somewhat similar, but we want to kind of better leverage our networks. We have folks who have previously participated in our programs from all over. And so we're gonna put calls out to those folks to submit photos and short videos that we can put into a compilation and kind of just use in all different kinds of ways for social media posts and that kind of thing. Sharing just their stories of participating in Week Without Driving, as well as just why the week is important. And also we'll be tying it into Complete Streets, which is one of the frameworks that we advocate for in street design and built environment. And so that's what we're planning to do at this moment. We'll be reaching out to folks like previous participants from our programs, to include elected officials, advocates, community-based organizations, as well as reaching out to our National Complete Streets Coalition Steering Committee members. So that is our current plan, and great to hear what everyone else is working on. And I'll be sure to be looking out for posts on everyone's social media so that I can cross promote and share. And hope y'all will do the same with us.
And what hashtag will we be using on all those social media posts?
So
Week Without Driving.
Week Without Driving, of course, yes. And
That was a test. That was a test.
and we usually use Complete Streets on ours as well. So if folks want,
Great.
yeah,
Perfect. And feel free to like add something that's specific to your area too. But Week Without Driving is the national one, so just want to make sure we get as many data points about how many people are actually talking about this conversation. Is
Yeah, hi, thank you. I'm I'm with Transportation Choices Coalition. We are based in Seattle, but we are statewide across Washington State, a transportation advocacy nonprofit. And I thought I would share that this year we're planning to do like a social media campaign of sorts, where we've heard in previous years that some elected officials who have participated in Week Without Driving, that participation was sort of the catalyst to encourage some of these electeds to prioritize investments in public transit, and it's sort of the like galvanize them in that way to champion some public transit improvements. And so this year we are going to try to make this sort of storytelling component easier for elected officials, knowing the impact that it can have. And so we are reaching out to electeds and inviting them to participate, asking them to commit to whatever they can for that week, be it a day or multiple days, and then sharing their experience. So these prompts are really helpful for me. I'll be sending out a set of questions for them so that they can describe what their experience was riding transit for that day, and then we'll roll those out and taking a selfie on social media, or taking a selfie of themselves riding public transit, and then we'll be rolling those out on our social channels each day over Week Without Driving. So I think really excited about what I'm hearing here, and also really helpful to have those prompts and those observations as I work out these questions to get sort of those choice quotes that we're hoping to have to be able to promote on our socials.
great, thank you. And this will be to anybody else who's wondering, this presentation will be made available, so you will have those prompts. You don't have to screenshot anything. And we're butting up to time soon, but Samantha, I want to give you a chance to talk.
Oh, if we're coming up with time, don't worry. It's okay. I was just gonna give some ideas from what the MPO in Hawaii is doing.
I feel like you should share. Tell us.
Okay. This is our second year Week Without Driving. We're leaning heavily into doing fun things. So we are going to meet participants in the park for gelato. We're going to be giving out gelato for 2 hours. We hired a local gelato company it's like a super cute little cart that's going to come out. We also partnered with a local illustrator and artist, and she designed our custom holo cards, which is our transit cards, and we'll be giving those out to participants. People love her work and are like ready to sign up just to get the card, which is really exciting. And then we are loading them with weekly transit passes for Week Without Driving. We do Imagine the Speaker series, so we invite well-known people, advocates in the transportation world, to speak to our community. So Anna Zevarts is actually coming to Hawaii late September. She's going to be kicking off Week Without Driving with us, which we're really excited about. We're doing a walk audit with her. We've gotten the Hawaii Association of the Blind to lead an experience workshop. So they'll be taking elected officials and decision makers on an audit as a blind person. So they're going to have blind trainers come and do all of like the blindfolding and showing them like really what it feels like. And then we're also just really emphasizing that yes, like the empathy component is a really important piece, but like not driving is fun, and not being in traffic is fun, and not having to find parking and all of the money that you save, especially in Hawaii when you don't have a car and you're not driving, is a big deal. So we're leaning into that as well. And then like the other islands were like, well, we really, we're more rural, we really drive everywhere. And I looked at a map and I was like, can you show me where you drive? And they were like, well, we have to go here to the grocery store and here to the mailbox or post office or whatever. And those spaces were within a 5-10 minute walk. So I was like, how about let's try you just park one time and then we'll try walk, all these other areas and then go back to your car in order to kind of bridge that gap. So that's where we are currently.
I'm so glad you talked because I got goosebumps as you were talking. Like, it is a positive experience. You can plan fun things. To try this is fun. There is empathy involved. You will develop a spidey sense for what it's like if you were a non-driver specifically, but there can be fun attached to this. We all need a little fun in our lives right now. So talking about it, planning different things. I remember I'm in Phoenix and we planned an event that was a movie night at a park that didn't have any parking. It only had light rail access. So it was like a movie in the park, and like it's fun things get people to at least try it, like if you come up with an idea and you don't have time to do it, put it to the greater market. And like I'm trying to reiterate to you all, like, empower others to be spokespeople as well. You all are doing a lot of work. You can be a resource for people to come ask questions, but I don't want you to drain out. I want you to empower new leaders to come in and be a part of this conversation as well and start sharing their stories and putting these conversations in the forefront. Again, it's not a pass-fail, it's an observation. We are trying to get the reality of what it's like in your area to be a non-driver. And I will leave it to Ruth. She has the link to the survey too. Getting people to answer that survey is something we would like everybody to make sure that they're empowering others and their influencer networks to really take hold of. Are there any other questions before I end my portion? All right, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be a part of this group.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Really, really appreciate it. I think this was a really fruitful conversation. Like Sarah said, you'll have access to all of these things. So I know our Google folder is like getting bigger and there's just so many resources that to go through. Yeah, just adding more and whatever works for you. And like Sarah said, we're going to be putting out the survey soon. It's going to be 2 parts, a pre-event and post-event. And we have some really awesome prizes from partners that we're going to be giving away. And so people who answer will enter into that. And mostly the survey really helps us shape what Week Without Driving looks like because we hear directly from people who participated in the reflections. So we'll push all that out and kind of, see how that goes. And our next meeting is right before Week Without Driving on September 24th. We're going to do a little bit of a report out and just kind of getting people excited. And I'll also have like the video and kind of like getting people to share their videos on social media. So really excited for you all to be joining us this year. Thank you so much for your time. And I know we're over, so we'll close it out. Thank you again.
Bye, everybody.